here is the parts car or the donor car, whatever you want to call it. This is the original 13. It still has the cammed engine in it. And I wanted to go ahead and show you, while I'm at the point I'm at, how to swap some injectors. So we're gonna start in the back. I already have both these batteries out, so there is no power to the car. And that's relevant because whenever you're swapping injectors, you wanna make sure that there is no pressure going to the fuel pump. So having the batteries out, obviously there's no pressure to the fuel pump. A couple other ways you could do that. Pull the fuse for the fuel pump, disconnect the fuel pump. You go through and just make sure that this right here is your fuel line that comes into your fuel rail. So you want to make sure that you're not going to have more pressure going to that line. All right, pretty easy task. I'm going to show you what you need for it. As far as tools go, this is a very, very basic job. 10mm deep well socket. You're going to have four bolts you're going to have to remove. This is a fuel line tool. I like to use a pick because if you are removing an injector, there's a plug on there, and this kind of just helps make things a little bit easier. And last but not least, here is a injector. They're nothing huge, nothing crazy, pretty easy to swap out. So let's look at it. So on this step right here, this is your fuel line, and if you look down in there, you can see there's 4 little posts, and those act as teeth, and they grab onto this little notch on the fuel rail. So the car will come and you will have this keeper on there. It's super easy. It just digs in, clips on. So you'll release that clip, slide it out, not a big deal. And then you'll take your fuel line tool, you'll line it up on your fuel line for your fuel rail, and that will help push back those teeth so you can slide the line off. There will obviously be fuel in here, so I would suggest having some rags, some towels, something of that nature. But at this point, your fuel rail is disconnected. So from there, you'll move on, you'll grab your 10mm. There will be 4 of these studded bolt slash nuts. So there is one right here, there is one back here, one right here, and one back here. So those 4 are the only thing that are going to hold this in. So at this point, your fuel rail is disconnected from your fuel line. It is released from your intake. So the only thing that's really holding it in place now is the seals on the actual injectors themselves, holding it down into the engine. So we're going to go ahead and get it popped up and show you how simple it is to swap out an injector. So you might have to fight with it a little bit. You're gonna have a couple things that'll kind of sort of be in your way. So you can kind of move these lines out of the way, these coolant lines. They're pretty flexible, but you'll come through and you will pull up. I like to do both sides on the front, both sides on the back, and it'll release pretty well. One thing to be aware of, I did run into, on the 16, there's a little black piece that goes over the top back here, a little metal piece. So that kind of caught the back end of the fuel rail. This car doesn't have those on there. So now we are pulled up, we are released, but our injectors are still all connected. So that plug is pretty simple. Like I said, I like to have a pick, just can help with some of them, but these right here, you will just press down and pull back to release. So you can see this plug right here, just press down on this tab and this tab, and once you press those down, you can slide it right back. And I'm gonna go ahead and do that for all of them. Okay, so now looking from the back side of the engine forward, you will have some plastic hard lines here that you gotta kind of be careful of, but those are no big deal. All 8 of our plugs are undone, our 4 bolts are removed, we're disconnected from the fuel line. As you can see, this is completely free. So we'll just go ahead, navigate around the coolant lines, navigate around these hard vacuum lines here, and just like that, our entire fuel rail is coming out. So I already had the number 8 fuel injector out. I was testing it in the 2016, so I'm going to be dropping this back in there. But first I want to show you how to remove, and I'm going to go ahead and clean this up while I'm at it. So all that holds this in is this metal keeper right here. So you go ahead, slide that on back, and once you have that metal keeper off, All that holds it in is the gasket. So as you can see on this one, that blue gasket right there, it's just holding pressure, and there's probably still some fuel in this rail right here, so it's going to be kind of difficult, but it'll come on out without a problem. So once you have it out, if you're dropping new ones in or replacing one like what I'm doing, again, just uses pressure. Push it back down in there. Your metal clip will seat back on. And once you have it seated, you just do everything in reverse. Go ahead, put everything back together, and you are good to go. Pretty simple, pretty easy. You can do it pretty efficiently and pretty quickly. Thanks for watching.